Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. There are 154 new cases of COVID-19 in Saskatchewan, including 14 in the Northwest Zone. 4 of those are in the immediate Lloydminster area, where we have 32 active cases. 1,551 cases are active province-wide. 151 people are in hospital, including 12 in the Northwest, 1 of those in intensive care in our zone. More than 7,500 vaccine doses have been administered in our zone, and close to 80,000 across Saskatchewan. And after some confusion from residents, the Saskatchewan Health Authority is clarifying that all COVID-19 immunizations for the entire city of Lloydminster will be provided by the SHA. Our Jace Mackey spoke with Lloydminster MLA Colleen Young to learn more about the vaccine rollout in Lloydminster.
With the COVID-19 vaccination process underway across the country, there's been some confusion here in Lloydminster about how people are going to be able to get their vaccines and who is going to be administering them. So to get some more information, I'm joined today by Lloydminster MLA Colleen Young. Colleen, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today. Starting off, I just want to ask you, which health authority is going to be vaccinating people in Lloydminster, and are they going to be vaccinating the entire city no matter which side of the border they're on?
Well, as you know, SHA is the governing health services department that will be delivering, that does all health services in this community. So they provide it and they deliver health services in this community. So SHA will be the governing health authority to provide and deliver vaccines going forward in this community. As we know, there was one earlier exception where the long-term care residents in levels 3 and 4 in our Alberta facilities here in Lloydminster, AHS did provide the vaccines, but SHA did administer those vaccines to those long-term care residents. And that's because Alberta had vaccines ahead of SHA and had a goal to get those long-term care facilities vaccinated as soon as they possibly could.
All right, so right now, what stage are we in when it comes to the vaccination rollout plan?
We are still in phase 1 for Saskatchewan, so there are still some second doses to be administered to long-term, well, I believe most of our, if not all of our long-term care residents on both sides of the borders have been vaccinated at this point in time, and pretty much all of our healthcare workers. We are now doing second doses for some of those in phase 1 of our healthcare workers and those on the phase 1 list, and have begun vaccinations phase 1 of the 70 plus, working with the descending age and down to 70 on those residents living independently here in Lloydminster, and that is for both Alberta and Saskatchewan residents.
So for those people who are over 70 living on their own in the community, how are they going to be contacted for this? And is the SHA going in alphabetical order, or is it kind of just random?
Well, as we know, Alberta did open an online booking as well as a call-in number, but that is if those residents choose to go outside of the community, travel outside of the community to get the vaccination, they're welcome to go online and book. But they got to remember that if they do that, and whether it's to Wainwright, Camrose, Bonnyville, Elk Point, as I understand it, there are a number of locations they will have to go back there within 21 to 42 days for their second dose as well, because they will have the records for those individuals. But Saskatchewan Health Authority is using calling numbers off of eHealth, which they have gotten from Health Cards and Vital Stats Canada, in order to make calls to residents in the community in order for vaccines. Now, keep in mind, we are limited in the amount of vaccines that we have. So once those vaccines are gone, they will not be calling anymore until more vaccines come.
Here in Saskatchewan, there's no mandatory vaccination, so anyone who gets a call and doesn't want to receive a vaccination doesn't have to get one, right?
It is not mandatory. So if the person says they are not interested in receiving the vaccine, they will just go on to calling the next person on their list.
And for when you get the vaccine, is there anything that you get that proves that, yes, I've been vaccinated?
Yes, you will get a card that that you are to keep. and bring again to the next appointment that you have for your second dose when those doses arrive.
So as you mentioned earlier, we're still in the early stages of the vaccine rollout plan. Once we get into other stages and we start vaccinating more age groups in the general public, how will things look here in Lloydminster?
Well, Saskatchewan will be going to an online booking and a call-in number. We are not ready for that at this stage of the game. That was something I was trying to work on last week. I had communication with my counterpart colleague here in Lloydminster, Garth Roswell, the MLA, and for Vermilion Wainwright in Lloydminster. And we were on a conference call with AHS and SHA to try to see if that's something that we could accommodate for residents here in Lloydminster. But unfortunately, SHA is not ready to go to an online booking as well as a call-in number. And we'll be continuing with calling to residents based off the e-health list that they currently have. AHS is also providing them with lists of residents in Lloydminster that they will be using to call. So they are receiving resources from AHS in order to be able to call residents on the Alberta side in Lloydminster as well for those appointments.
The SHA is the one who's administering the vaccinations, but the province is getting the vaccines from the federal government. So can you just talk a little bit about what the process has been like about getting vaccines from the federal government and kind of how that has kind of changed and affected the provincial rollout of the vaccine?
Well, absolutely. Out of the 400,000 vaccines that we require at this stage of the game, we've only been able to do just over 75,000 at this point in time, which is only about 5% of our population that we need to get vaccinated. But I have heard as of this morning that within the next month, we are hoping to get about another 15,000, I believe it is, coming to the province. Actually 95,000 that we're hoping of both Pfizer and Moderna to come within the next month. Based on priority areas and areas where we are still needing to get second doses. Most of our first doses we've been able to get across the province now. As of this last week, we were able to get first doses down into our southwest and southeast corner of the provinces where we hadn't yet at this point in time. So, the next batch will be to continue with whatever first doses need to get across our entire province. Make sure that our priority groups have all had their first doses, and that the second doses are administered to those who are ready within that 21 to 42 days that need those second doses will happen. And then beginning into the rest of those 70 plus with the descending age order. Hopefully, with the announcement of AstraZeneca that has been approved now, that more vaccines will come quicker. And those ones, as we understand it, are better for the younger age under the 60s. So hopefully if we are able to get more of those as we move along, that SHA will start to roll those into the next phase of our vaccination.
Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today, Colleen.
You're more than welcome, JC.
MLA Young stresses that staff on the phone will always identify themselves as SHA workers when calling to book vaccinations. While the Lloydminster Bobcats' return has been put on ice after the team was denied the opportunity to join the AJHL's return to play plan, the team is awaiting another big decision as City Council decides whether or not to help relieve the team's financial strains due to COVID. City administration put forward 4 relief options for City Council to consider, ranging from reduced ice fees to funding for the team through city reserves. As we approach the 1-year mark of the first COVID shutdown, Council has been approached by numerous businesses in the community for aid and has been forced to weigh its options.
From sort of an economic perspective, you see the benefits it has for our community. It's a draw. It brings people in when your team is winning and the playoffs are here. There's a lot of excitement. Your restaurants, hotels, it adds to the community in terms of economic benefit. If you lose that team, you lose that economic benefit.
Many council members said that providing the Bobcats relief in the form of cash would not be possible, but expressed interest in removing ice charges.
The reality is that the ice is going to be in there. If nobody's skating, someone's still need the ice. So there'll be a cost, obviously, from the sanitation perspective, and we heard a bit about that. But I think from an option that's most palatable to the community members, that's probably it at this point.
The Bobcats were not allowed to join the AJHL's restart as the team could not meet the Saskatchewan government's health guidelines. Alberta Health Services approved the league's return, but the city of Lloydminster falls under the Saskatchewan Health Authority. It's time now for this week's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect. Back in '96, Chris Hadfield comes back down to Earth after a trip to outer space.
Imagine what it would be like to see a sunrise and a sunset every 45 minutes. Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield took part in the November mission of Shuttle Atlantis, and he saw the sun rise and go down hundreds of times during the 8.5 days he spent in space. Hadfield thrilled children in the Tri-Town area with a presentation that he says he enjoys doing.
I was a kid when I wanted to be an astronaut. You know, when I decided to do this, it inspired me as a kid, and I like talking to kids because they're unabashed about asking questions, and they don't just ask me how did it feel. Mostly they ask, how does the toilet work? How are those guys? They're interested in the details.
He was the rookie among the 5 astronauts on the Atlantis, but he says it helped that he sort of knew what to expect, unlike the first men in space.
For me, I was the 200th person to ride on the space shuttle. The 200th turned out, even number. And so I have listened to hundreds of people tell me what it was like to be in space before. And I've seen the IMAX movies and very well trained, not just technically, but also psychologically as to what it's going to be like.
And in 2001, the Border City reacts to the rise in online file sharing and music piracy through Napster.
I read the license and I know it's illegal.
Ian Chauvin loves music, and if the United States courts shut down Napster this weekend, he says he'll find another way.
Find another way to get them. I'll just probably go into an internet relay chat or get together with some friends of mine that have them too and just trade with them somehow, either through email or through another form of a program.
And he's not alone. Other Border City residents echo they like the site and what it offers.
It's the easiest way to get songs. It's the best way to get it to. If you can't find the song, then you just search it up, you get a whole bunch of different songs.
It's an easy way of getting the songs you want without spending $25 on a CD and only wanting one song. Because I've done that so many times, it's easier just to get the one.
But not everyone likes Napster and how it hurts the music industry.
They don't realize that it hurts a lot of people. It's not just the record company, it's the songwriters, it's the smaller people working within the industry and packaging.
And that's it for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Find New Holland products at Webb's Machinery, your dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, Lamont, Wainwright, St. Paul, and Consulate.
Now our Connor Chan will take a first look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Jasmine. Looking right now, sitting around 1 degree, a little bit warmer than we saw on the weekend here, and it's going to continue to be warmer over the next little bit here. We are going to see lots of days where we are very, very warm, probably the later parts of this week here with the wind chill. It does feel a little bit just in that low minuses right now, around that -2 mark with the wind chill. Taking a look at some other temperatures in the area. Very warm out in Edmonton, out west at 7 degrees, 3 degrees in Vermilion, 2 out in Marwayne with 1 degree also in Bonnyville, -3 in Cold Lake, one of the cooler spots here. Taking a look here, North Battleford sitting at -5 right now. -4 for Maidstone with -5 in Meadow Lake, -2 in Green Lake as well. And then we see 5s in Wainwright and Provost and 6 degrees in Macklin. As we take a look here at the satellite radar map in the later parts of the evening tonight, around that 7:30 mark, we could see a little bit of some flurries make its way across here. Even some rain as well out in the Edmonton area. We could see that, as you can kind of see on the green portion there of that radar map. It could make its way through west coming to east, but it's mainly a little bit of flurries we could see coming into the area over in this evening. morning. But -5 overnight North Battleford as we take a look here at some regional temperatures here. -2 over for tomorrow is the daytime high with mostly sun and a few cloud coverages there. Looking ahead into Cold Lake, that rain could carry over into overnight tonight in Cold Lake at -9, going into 2 degrees tomorrow for the daytime high. So nice positive temperatures there with that sun and cloud mix. Then looking for us here in Lloydminster, cloud coverage overnight at -6 going into tomorrow, also sitting at that 2-degree mark. So we are going to get, like I said, gradually a little bit warmer over the next several days here. As we take a look here, Wednesday, 0 degrees expected there. A little bit cooler in the morning at -10, and that's the same result there for Thursday at -10 is the low there, -1 on Thursday. As we are going to have lots of sunshine over the next couple of days here, and that'll carry over well into next week as well. But that is a first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
On Friday, SGI announced they will be providing rebate to customers. We spoke with them on more details and how much customers can expect.
I'm joined here today with Tyler McMurtry, the Manager of Media Relations with SGI. Now, SGI did recently announce they will be providing rebates for SGI customers. So could you just give some background into this?
Absolutely. This spring, SGI will be delivering $350 million back to its customers. It's going to happen in 2 ways. The first way, which will affect the broadest number of customers, is rebates to anybody who has registered a vehicle in Saskatchewan over the past 3 years and is currently a resident of the province. The other way will be enhancing some benefits for some of our most severely injured customers.
And why did SGI want to do this?
Well, there is a excess in SGI's rate stabilization fund, the auto fund, which all drivers and people who register vehicles in the province pay into through driver's license fees and premiums on their plate insurance. They pay into this, and there is more money than is needed in the rate stabilization reserve. We need to maintain some money in there as a rainy day account in case there's anything that might impact rates, such as a massive storm event. This basically protects customers from having sudden rate increases. However, there is more money in that fund than is needed, and so we are going to be returning this back to the people of Saskatchewan.
And how much can customers expect with this?
Well, it will vary depending on what they have paid in auto fund premiums. And so this will vary depending on whether you have multiple vehicles registered in your name and for what period of time over that 3-year period ending December 31st, 2020, how much you have paid into it over the previous 3 years. And of course, you need to be a resident of Saskatchewan as well. Currently, if you've moved out of province, you are not eligible for this rebate. But we do expect that per vehicle, it will amount to, on average, $285 per vehicle. So if you have multiple vehicles, you will expect a bigger check. Or if you have paid more to plate your vehicle, again, that will be reflected in the amount of your rebate.
And when can they expect these?
So the rebates will roll out in May of this year.
And since there is rebates, will customers expect a rise in prices and premiums at all?
No, this is very much about dealing with the excess that's in the RSR. This will not increase costs to SGI. This is about delivering money back to the people of Saskatchewan. And one of the reasons why this is possible, I would note, is because SGI maintains an investment portfolio, which most insurance companies do. Our investment portfolio yielded higher than expected returns. And so it has left the rainy day fund with more money than we need in it to serve that purpose. So that's one of the reasons, the primary reason really, why we are able to do this. Another factor was there was somewhat fewer collision claims and collision claim payouts over the past year, partially due, we expect, to the fact that people were driving less during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tyler.
Now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
For the first time since October 27th, the MLB is back in action. Sunday spring training kicked off saw a number of players on new teams. Evan Kenny and Eric Bay have more.
Well, it is a busy time when it comes to sports. The NHL is moving along, and as spring comes along, we will start to see the Stanley Cup playoffs. Same thing going when it comes to the NBA. And now this weekend, the MLB just started their spring training. Joining me today to break down everything when it comes to the MLB is Eric Bay. Eric, thanks for taking this time.
Yeah, big time of year, like you say, stuff ramping up and starting up here, so super exciting.
Now, obviously, the offseason is just finishing up for the MLB, and there's lots of moves when it comes over the past year, whether that be, through free agency or via trade. So today, we are breaking down who the biggest moves over this offseason were and will be going into this season. Eric, let's not waste time. Let's just jump into it. Who's your number one guy who you think will be the biggest game changer this year?
Yeah, I think this one's a pretty obvious choice, and maybe not a game changer in the sense that he has to change the team that much, but a game changer because this kind of fills a hole on this team, and that is Trevor Bauer, signed by the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, we talked before that was really the only hole on this team moving forward. Is their offense is still very young, their batting order very young, but their pitching getting a little bit older there with guys like Clayton Kershaw. So I think a guy like Trevor Bauer here that slides in for the next couple of years really helps this team in the long run. And I mean, this is a team that didn't really need any more help, but they're now going to look to be a contender for the next few years as well and stay on top of this team, especially as a team that they are going to get back David Price, who opted out of last season as well, to really help that rotation.
Now with obviously David Price, Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, and now Trevor Bauer, it is literally just a rotation filled with Cy Young winners. I mean, you really can't ask for much more when you're the LA Dodgers organization. And you're right, that was one spot in their lineup, if they really had any, that people might have been a little bit worried. But you look at their bats, now they have the arms. It looks like they're set to really repeat as World Series champions in this upcoming year. Now, Eric, for my first pick, I think I got to go with a guy who, obviously lots of people in Canada and specifically Toronto have been talking about. That's George Springer. I mean, obviously just a couple of years removed from his MVP caliber season. Last year, he still had 14 home runs and 32 RBIs, and as well, it's the biggest contract in Blue Jays history. So I'm just excited to see, what will he do with this pressure and sort of being the guy in Toronto here.
Yeah, and especially, too, as you look at this offense here, still super young. He's a guy who can kind of shepherd these young guys, show them the ropes, and he's going to be your leadoff hitter for the next 5 seasons or so because he still has that talent, as you mentioned, all the skills in the world. So doesn't really fill the Blue Jays' defensive needs because their pitching still needs some work. But on the offensive side and in center field, he's going to be a stud there for the next few years. Another guy I want to talk about in terms of being a big get this year, and I think this one's a little more maybe under the radar, is Lance Lynn being signed by the Chicago White Sox. And we talked pitchers before. Well, this guy is basically your power pitcher now in the 2020 era. Had one complete game last season on a Texas Rangers team that wasn't overly good in the last 2 years in Texas, has had just above a 3 ERA those both 2 seasons. So I think this will be huge for a team in the White Sox where you have those young guys and older guys now that mix, and they're looking to really compete, especially with those young guys in the outfield like Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert. And then you guys have guys like Lucas Giolito on the mound. This just elevates that team, and this is a guy who can give you innings and will really elevate the White Sox for years to come, I think.
And Eric, just to add to your point, I think it's elevating especially a defense that was already a great defense. Last year, the team allowed right around that 3 ERA type of range there and was a top 10 defense in the league. So, I mean, obviously adding an underrated pitcher in Lance Lynn, who, he did have a low ERA last year. I believe he had the most innings pitched as well, so he can take on that big workload. But also, just talking when it comes to the Chicago White Sox, they've made some big moves as well. Tony La Russa will now be their manager, and Liam Hendricks as well, bringing him in as a closer. that team just really is starting to look like it's rounding out to, be a playoff contending team. I don't know if it's quite that World Series contending type team, but it's getting up there and it's starting to look scary. Now, Eric, for my final player that I think we need to watch moving over via trade from the Colorado Rockies to the St. Louis Cardinals is Nolan Arenado. Last year, he had a little bit of a down season when it comes to offensive numbers. And I mean, by down season, it's hard to really say that in last year's, shortened season, but 8 home runs, 26 RBIs. It's more that defensive play is the big reason that everybody likes him and the big reason that St. Louis wanted him. So he's got to be also on that list, just wrapping things up there, Eric. Eric, thank you for taking this time and joining me. It should be exciting as the MLB gets underway here.
Now our Connor Chan will take another look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Jasmine. Taking a look right now, still sitting around that 2-degree mark right now, as we are going to get that number at least a few more times later on into the week here. Looking out west, very warm for the most part. 9 degrees in Edson, Rocky Mountain House, as well as in Whitecourt. Some showers are a little imminent around the earlier parts of the day today, even through the Edmonton area. 5 degrees for Edmonton, 6 degrees in Jasper. Looking ahead in Saskatchewan, also continuing those minus temperatures there. We see -4 in North Battleford, -3 in Saskatoon, -5 across the way there in Meadow Lake, Prince Albert, and in Melfort as well. Taking a look up north, a little bit warmer than last week than we saw with those really cold temperatures there. -6 for the Loche, Buffalo Narrows, and in La Ronge as well. -15 for both Wollaston Lake and South End there. -17 there in Stony Rapids and Uranium City. Looking up north to northern Alberta, -16 in Fort Chipeway, -9 in Fort McMurray, and then -14 we see there in High Level. A little bit warmer in Slave Lake and Grand Prairie, sitting at 4 and 3 degrees. Very warm in southern Alberta right here. Take a look at 11 degrees in Lethbridge, 7 degrees for Medicine Hat, 9 degrees in Calgary, with 2 degrees for Banff, and then 4 for Coronation. Then we see lots of nice warm temperatures as well in southern Saskatchewan today. 4 degrees across in Moose Jaw and Swift Current, 2 degrees in Regina and Kindersley, with -4 being the only minus temperature area right now at -4. Now take a look here across the country, a little bit colder as we make our way out east. Winnipeg sitting at -11 right now, -7 in Toronto with some cloud coverage hovering over there, -5 in Quebec City. We see -3s for St. John's, and then 3 degrees in Halifax with some showers right now. 11 degrees in Vancouver with some cloud coverage continuing up into Yellowknife at cloud coverage there at -19. A little bit of flurries also we see up in the further Northwest Territories, in the Yukon, at -5. Now as we take a look here for tomorrow, kind of similar to what we saw today, but a little bit cooler out west there as we saw Edmonton kind of in that closer to that 10-degree mark. It's going to be sitting at 4 for tomorrow, but for us here in the area, around 2 to 3 degrees is expected. 3 degrees for Vermilion, Wainwright, as well as we'll see Bonnyville and Cold Lake and Pearson sitting at 2 degrees as well. 3 also up in Lac La Biche, 1 degree in St. Paul. Looking at Saskatchewan temperatures, a little bit warmer as well as we look at Maidstone, 1 degree. 2 degrees for Macklin there. -2 for North Battleford for tomorrow. And then we'll see 0 in Green Lake and in Meadow Lake as well. So here's a look at the next several days. We could see some of these numbers change over the next couple of days. We could see those temperatures rising a bit, so we could see lots of warm temperatures expected over the next couple of days. 0 degrees on Wednesday, -1 on Thursday, 2 degrees on Friday and on Saturday. So lots of sunshine for the next several days here. 1 degree on Sunday with a little bit of increased cloud coverage there. And then back to kind of what we saw today for Monday at -1 there with a low there of -6. So we are going to start to see a little bit warmer mornings starting on that Saturday there, but -10 will be the cooler mornings on Wednesday and Thursday. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Joining us for Primetime Local News is Carla Furman with the Border City Rotary Club. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Shelby.
So we know now there will be an Irish pub night still this year, but with a new twist. Can you tell me all about this?
Yes, definitely. So Irish pub night, traditionally, we gather and we have a lot of fun. There's some dancing and different games and stuff. Unfortunately, this year, that is not going to be the case, but we're still going to bring a little bit of fun, true Rotarian style to it all. And we're teaming up with the Lloydminster Exhibition Ground to bring you a drive-through Irish pub night meal. And so tickets are available to purchase prior to.
And how many years has this Irish pub night been here in the Lloydminster community now?
Oh, that's a great question. Longer than I've been with Rotary, and I've been with Rotary since 2011. So there's got to be a couple years before that they started this tradition.
And for residents that don't know yet, what do the proceeds go towards for this Irish pub night?
So in past years, we have selected a project prior to Irish Pub Night, usually based around youth initiatives within our community. So some of the past projects have been the Youth Center, the Teddy Bear Project, youth exchange programs, different things like that. This year, we're focusing on just trying to raise some funds for the club, for Border City Rotary, so that way when different groups and organizations come to us in need of a little extra assistance or help, we have that availability to do it, since we haven't been able to fundraise for almost 2 years now.
And how was the process for the Border City Rotary Club putting this year's event all together?
It's actually really simple. The Lloyd Exhibition Grounds makes it almost flawless. You pick the date, you give them your ideas for the meal, they help build that for you, and then they take care of the rest. So in comparison to other years, it's probably been one of the least stressful Irish pub nights to organize, though I do miss all those conversations and working with our different sponsors and community members to make that happen.
And so far, how has support been online for this?
Feedback has been fantastic so far. A lot of people are excited about it. They're sad, of course, that the actual party isn't happening, but they're just excited to be able to get out, grab a meal, support the Rotary Club, and maybe see some familiar faces.
And for residents that are wondering, where and how can they buy tickets for this event and even help support this?
So currently the tickets are for sale online through Eventbrite. So you can pop on to the Border City Rotary Facebook page or Lloydminster Exhibition Grounds and find the links there, as well as reaching out to one of your Rotarian friends within the community, and we can help hook you up with that link to purchase those tickets.
And is there anything else you'd like to add for people to know about?
So the event is on actually Sunday, March 14th, and it's from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. and tickets are $20 a plate. And we would love to see your faces out there. We'd love to have the support. And again, just thank everybody for the continuous support and always being there in our back corner as we pull these different events off.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Carla.
Thank you, Shelby, for having me.
Well, joining us for a very special Monday edition of the Entertainment Panel recapping the Golden Globes is Abby St. John. Abby, there are lots of big surprises and lots of big winners last night. So mainly one in my personal mind that I really enjoyed was Chloe Zhao for winning Best Director, as well also winning for Nomad as well for Best Picture, as well as, you know, seeing Catherine O'Hara win for Schitt's Creek as well was also really special. And what were some of the other ones in your mind that really stood out to you for the wins last night?
Yeah, I had both of those on my list of things that I wanted to mention. I think it's amazing that Nomadland won Best Picture and then Chloe Zhao won for Best Director for that movie. I think that's incredible. I was really hoping that one of the three women nominated for Best Director was going to win. And then I also had Catherine O'Hara winning for Best Actress in a Comedy Series for Schitt's Creek. Now, we had mentioned when we talked about the nominations whether we think that Schitt's Creek was going to sweep this year. Unfortunately, they didn't, but they did win for Best Comedy Series and then O'Hara winning for Best Actress. So that's very exciting that they're still being recognized. I also have Chadwick Boseman. He won Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for his role role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I think, you know, everyone was expecting him to win and take that home, and I think it's very well deserved. And his wife, she accepted the award on his behalf and gave a very beautiful and emotional speech on what she thought he would say and who he would thank if he were alive to accept it himself. And it was hard to hold back the tears when watching it, so it was very emotional. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association, they were called out multiple times throughout the evening. They are responsible for choosing the nominees and winners, and they were called out throughout the night, but during the opening monologue, Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, it was called out that the 87-member panel of the HFPA doesn't include a single Black person, and that was really interesting to learn. And then they were called out throughout the entire night by numerous different people, so that was really interesting to see. Daniel Kaluuya won Best Supporting Actor for Judas and the Black Messiah, but there was some technical difficulties when he was accepting his award, and some of part of it was cut off because it was muted, but the problem was resolved and he was able to resume his acceptance speech, which was amazing. And then Pixar's Soul won for Best Animated Picture plus Best Score. I absolutely love that film. It is amazing. I think they did a wonderful job, and I think it was very well deserved winning for Best Animation.
Yeah, and it was definitely a big night for The Crown. They took home the majority of the awards, and of course with all the people that were in The Crown and also with the different nominations in each category, it was always fun to see which one would come up on top. For me also, I found really funny with Jason Sudeikis beating out names like Rami Youssef and Eugene Levy for Best Actor in a comedy series, which I found really interesting because he didn't look prepared at all, but that made it all the more fun for that regard. Now, Abby, one of the big questions and one of the big things is with these Golden Globes, of course, Oscars and SAGs are next. So does that kind of mean for the winners of some of those movie categories at the Globes, that ultimately, in your mind, will it translate, do you think, to the next couple of major awards?
I think we're going to see a lot of crossover, and it's not new. It's not different. We see it every year. There is a ton of crossover through the categories. Nomadland probably will be nominated for Best Picture, could possibly win. You know, Chadwick Boseman being nominated for Best Actor in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, very possible. Viola Davis being nominated for Best Actress, very possible. We see crossover between all of these award shows. They're not necessarily mean that they're going to win those same exact awards, but I'm not going to be shocked if we see a lot of the same films that were nominated at the Globes to be nominated at the Oscars or the SAG Awards, like you mentioned. So I'm not going to be shocked when they come out. Who knows? We may have some more and newer entries. Movies that were nominated at the Globes that won't be nominated for any awards, and vice versa. So we could see some of those movies that were kind of snubbed at the Globes being nominated for the SAG or for the Oscars, and vice versa. So it'll be interesting to see when they come out, but do not be shocked if there's crossover, because there is every single year.
Oh, for sure. It's always fun to see kind of an upset as well. Abby St. John, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, taking one last look here at your weather forecast. 2 degrees heading into tomorrow, 0 degrees on Wednesday. We're going to have nice weather and nice sunshine over the next couple of days here. We could see those 2s change into maybe higher numbers over the next couple of days. -1 there on Thursday, which will be one of the colder days that we'll have this week over the next 7 days. -10 the low there for Wednesday and Thursday. So you get into the weekend, we'll have nice 2 degrees continuing on into Saturday and Sunday with more sunshine coming up over those days, and then -2 there on Monday, which will be a little bit colder than what we saw today. But as we look at our averages, usually -5 is what we see usually around this time of year, and -15 is what we usually see as our average daytime low.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.